your son would like you to buy me birthday stuff tonight.
Is it your birthday today?
No, 2 days.
In 2 days?
Thursday.
So excited.
Right? Ramona seems pretty open on what I suggest, and I'm really got some interesting thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, she's the one that's going to get you the good stuff.
Oh yeah. She got good stuff for me. I know that.
Who organizes who gets to speak now? Are you doing that again?
I'm mostly still doing it. Jesse is starting to do. Basically, I'm starting out. Jesse is doing what I did when I first started doing it. Is publish it. Yeah, post it. Okay. Well, it's
I
not
was going to
much.
say hang out.
It's not much, but it's something where you start getting familiar with everybody. And what do we call it? A speaker coordinator.
Yeah.
And so I figured that's how he'll get started doing it, and eventually just do it. He's gregarious enough to do it. You know Jesse Miller? You'll see. Longer hair, giant.
Oh yeah. He was doing the pieces, or I was helping him do the pieces, or something. That's very
He's starting to get involved.
cool.
You know, there's definitely an aspect of social aspect to speaker acquisition.
So weird. I always just figured you could like.
I mean, you know, it's funny because I'm sitting in. What do? We got into late November, and I'm thinking, oh man, I haven't got anything for next year, except maybe Scott. Yeah, at the end of the year.
About this time last year, you were booked like the whole year.
Dude, no, it wasn't quite, but I think I got 3, maybe 4 slots left next year already. I mean, it's just boom, done.
Like that, where when I'm organizing something, I'll get 10 speakers.
And are you done with
And they won't do anything.
Fringe too? Then is everyone done with Fringe and moving on?
Yeah.
I mean, ostensibly, that's where you're at.
Yeah, sort of.
Everybody's tired.
Well, we're doing ML for all.
Dude, it's a damn shame because that was a good thing you guys did. How many times I've pitched? Yeah, we don't need to do anything because .NET Fringe is too awesome. You can't do anything else.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not joking.
I mean, if somebody stands up and do it, I
tempted,
mean,
but
we'll help them do it. But somebody has to do.
Is it just me,
Maybe Darren
or
will
is it
do
getting more?
Hey, dude, I think you need to turn your
Hit
screensaver
rule
on more
75
often.
in
Burn
20
it
days.
into the screen.
It'll be 75.
Hit rule 75.
Sorry, I had to
Hit
go
rule
old school for a
75
minute.
in 20 days.
What is the tool you're actually using? What is that? Oh, you've been using OBS. Okay. Yeah, cool. You should be doing it with Twitch. It'll auto-populate your YouTube after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean, just
where all the hip
it's
kids
your time,
hang out these days.
age plus time.
Well, that excludes me right there.
Well, I mean, like, there's actually quite a few C-sharpers that code on there all the time, like
but still,
C-sharp
not a retirement
Fritz,
plan, but
and about half a dozen other people I know, which kind of, I was like, wow.
maybe time
Because I was used to seeing just like endless JavaScript shit, like just React this and TypeScript that and Vue.js this, and, anything you can think of. There's like 50 people coding it all the time, day in, day out. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh look, there's some C-sharp.
Yeah, but it's like you can't even get in the door unless somebody shows up with a badge.
We could also be using. There's free multicast services that will, multicast your stream all over the place.
But if you get a following on Twitch, they'll pay you. And then they'll also auto-populate it to YouTube. And then you can get paid and also not
And I think
infringe on the thing.
remember that girl up there's new.
But that's probably the same rules with YouTube the other way. Except it doesn't go. Vimeo does it too. Like if you stream to Vimeo, Vimeo will go to basically like every damn place you can think of. Like it'll post it, post
It's never
facto.
been implemented.
Pretty cool. They've really expanded into that over the last year too.
Well, no, because the door's always been unlocked. You walk in at like 5 when the door's unlocked. I mean, they never really locked the door.
Oh, that's your mic. Okay.
Well, that could be too. They just locked the holiday because we're
Yeah, it's just a cheap, like this is like a $80, $90 mixer that goes to USB.
That's true.
Yep. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And you get one even simpler. I got one for like $100.
Close to time.
But it's actually, it does USB, it's 2 outs, it's XLR,
What kind of
it's
watch
like
is that?
honestly, I think
And,
I was pushing some buttons.
It's a nice little box. It's very small. It's probably half the size of that thing. And I was thinking of getting a wireless mic to go with it.
So Microsoft gave up on all their crap.
Kind of dragging ass because I've been in the middle of my power supply. We had this fire and
I feel that way
shorted
about
out the neighborhood,
OS.
or actually in downtown Ballard or whatever. And
No, not the OS, but the mobile OS.
turned my computer on, and fucking power supply sparked on fire. I was like,
It's just the BIOS or something
well,
like
that's fucking dead. So I've been PC teching it the last like 3 weeks since it happened in December. And
Well, but hopefully that'll stabilize
getting
Android.
my
Because
shit together with the other stuff I had going on.
Android kernel's fine.
it's just all the stuff being.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Put a
funny.
new,
I just
put a
carried
new
a.
UI on top of it.
I was cleaning the basement and I
But
had
part of the reason-
3 old desktop computers and a stack of laptops in my basement, collected over the last 18 years.
Draconian they were with it.
Finally, I've been talking now for 10 years, like, okay, I'm gonna do something.
But I mean,
Get any files that may be on there off of there and get that shit
Yeah,
recycled.
that's I'm selling one of my MacBook Pros. Actually, 2 of them. I'm still gonna have 2 left.
No, the
Funny
security
is,
dude.
I'm selling the newest MacBooks because I don't like my much. I got picked up a new XPS 15.
so what is it? Where are you at anyway?
Like 32 gig of RAM and stuff to hold me over until I fix my damn PC workstation. And it's the first time because I bought it brand new.
She's like
It's the first time I've had Windows in
she might
8 years.
recently because otherwise with the actual rules.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm like, oh yeah, you right click here and you. How do you move?
She's got all the
Finally,
classes.
man,
It's not
She hasn't decided to do
NV.
about it yet.
It's something else. How do you get the command box open?
Yeah.
What the hell is bash? You know?
Right, man. You're live. There you go. Look at.
What's that?
I got an alert.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's live. It's
Just boring.
tinged color a
do you
little
mean?
bit, but
That's
it,
exciting. Is it tinge on there?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
both actually.
Must be something with the connection.
Man, you gotta get screensaver.
Must be the laptop.
Makes everything dark.
it's probably.
No, it's peach.
I bet it's your
laptop,
I bet it's your machine, Rich. Like
Yeah, it's got to be.
It doesn't look that much up there.
Yeah, it does. It's like yellow up there too.
Whatever.
Well, let's see what happens when people come on.
you have like he has like night mode on or something, right?
That's what it is. I got that. Bet you I do. Pretty sure I do.
I'm over there like look at all my settings.
Why did you say that, man?
Yay!
Yellow.
That worked.
Did that change it?
Yeah.
Did.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Glad we gave you a bad time.
Windows 10 features.
everybody. Welcome to 2019. Adrian, I thought your wife was going to sit down here in the heckle zone. Throw things. Throw things. Throw things. All righty. Adrián is going to be presenting tonight. He's down here. His wife's over there, so give her a lot of support. That's right. Most importantly, she came out to support her husband. Isn't that nice of her? So just in case somehow you've missed it to this date, apparently not totally because you're here are places you can find Padna on the interwebs. The Slack channel, if you haven't already joined, has been quiet lately. I think everyone's been on holiday or something. It's time to kick it up. Jesse, where are you? Oh, wait, you're in the front row? Wow. Did you want a good grade?
I'm in the heckle zone.
Good for you, man. Good for you. He's a good heckler. So, Jesse, you got to kick it up there, buddy. You are our go-to. You and Chris are the go-tos for getting that chat going. If you haven't acquired the password for conference guest access to the Wi-Fi, there it is. Gonna switch. So hurry up, Charlie. Hurry up, Charlie.
Taking a picture.
Make sure I'm in it.
Yeah. Break the internet.
Oh my God. That was your good side, right?
There is no bad side, Charlie. Don't worry about it. So the reason we exist is Microsoft created something called .NET, and we've been part of that ever since. Hey, good. Intel has provided this great space. Thank you, Darren. Darren, wave at the audience. Yay. We should turn the camera on you. Nona Amelia's and Thirsty Lion have gift cards here. Oh, wow, James, you already got that up there. I didn't even notice. Hey, and by the way, Vanderhound brought some Regal gift cards too, so that'll be awesome. Woo! Some good movies coming out. Who saw Aquaman yet?
Aquaman.
Yeah, I missed it!
Oh,
The heck!
It's still there.
I don't even know me anymore.
You're so behind.
I know, right?
It's awesome, Rick.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And Ramona might be willing to see it. I told her she didn't have to go to this one, but then she said, well, Jason Momoa.
She'll really like it.
Well, of course, Jason Momoa is in it. I mean, not that she doesn't find me just as exciting.
Bumblebee was good, surprisingly.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor, actually. Yeah, that's nice. Quote Center, they might be ready for a renewal. Anyone from Quote Center here tonight? Jesse, come on, speak up.
I have no news about.
You have no news.
No.
I'm going to go call someone. Say, make sure Jesse has info.
You sure?
It would be useful.
It would be.
You know that if there's any open recs?
They're coming.
Imminent.
The Rex are coming.
The recs are coming.
Yes.
Okay. That's REQs, folks. Soft source. I know there's a soft source person, and it's not me tonight.
I'm Cheryl from SoftSource. We're a local software consulting company. There's several of us here in the audience today. Adrián, speaker, Rich, Lori, myself, and Chad.
You're Adrian's wife, sort of.
Oh, Adrian's wife.
See how that, don't use your name, so it's...
If you want to know more about what SoftSource does, come speak with one of us later in the night.
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. IT Motives. Alina.
Hi. Happy New Year.
Woo!
Happy New Year.
Oh, that was nice and long. Thank you. Oh, keep going.
Oh, well, I ran out of it.
IT Motors, we've been around a little over 10 years. We're one of the smaller groups of recruiters, but we work hard. We love building relationships, and our mission is all around finding people their best technical and cultural fit. And the only way we do that is to get to know you. So hit me up, maybe we can grab coffee or lunch or a phone conversation, and we can chat.
Woo!
I won't be going to the afterwards. I have the kid.
Well, he's going.
Yeah, are you going? Oh, he's going.
Drinks are on him tonight.
We'll be standing out front with cards after this ends with cards, so you can have my contact information.
You're going, right? You're going to the after party, right?
It's peer pressure.
You got it right if you need it. If she wants to leave, that's fine.
Just my neighbor, everybody. I need to see him off.
Leave the kids alone.
What? He's fine. It's her that I'm worried about. Robert Half.
I guess that's us. Hi, everybody. Hi, my name's Stephen with Robert Half. Robert Half is the oldest and largest staffing firm in the world. Specifically, our group, Robert Half Technology, is not only constantly on the lookout for .NET developers, but right now we've got a big open field looking for pretty talented individuals. So if you're living around Tigard, Northwest Portland, or Vancouver area, and you're at all interested in asking around, we have some pretty good opportunities available right now. Please grab us after the presentation here, or at least a couple of us should be at the after party afterwards. We'll show you
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Catapult. You're on, Wade.
Hey, that's us. Hey, we're Catapult Recruiting. We're probably the youngest group here as far as years. Been in business. Jeez.
Charlie is not that young, Wade. Charlie is one of the oldest, actually.
I say one word and people jump on me. I heard it. But anyways, just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Our last year was our best year as a company, and this year we're trying to do better than that, obviously. We're looking for a huge DevOps position right now. So if you're in that realm or want to at least learn about it a little bit, we can talk to you about that. .NET developers, obviously that's why we come here. You guys have a lot of talent in the market, and we're always looking for .NET developers. So we might be at the after party, possibly. We might be taking this kid to the after party too. So.
Yeah.
He needs a ride.
Exactly. You take him there, I'll take him home.
So anyways, just come talk to us. We like to build relationships and have some fun. And,
Thanks, Wade. Tech systems? No? I don't see Danielle, and I don't see anyone else. Okay. Vanderhouen, confuse us, please.
Well, I'm Taylor. Also here with Andrew Owen. We both work for Vanderhouen.
Is anyone confused by that?
Well, we're happy to have them. Most of you know what we do, but if you don't, we're a locally founded IT staffing agency. We're family owned, but we're pretty large here in Portland. We do a lot of business with a lot of companies, and we see a fair share of .NET developer positions. I don't think we're going to be at the afterwards tonight, sorry, but we'll certainly be attending a lot of events this year, and we'll make it to a lot of afterwards. We'll buy plenty of drinks down the road, and Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for having us, as always. Look forward to connecting with you throughout the year.
Joe, you remember it's my birthday week. Are you sure you don't want to go to the afterwards?
When's your birthday? Which day?
Thursday.
We're very positive. Thanks for answering that.
And generally, we give at least one freebie. Protension, would you like to say something? Okay, there you go.
So James.
Possible imminent sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. James Sturgeon from Protension. So I've been with Protension almost 13 years. It'll be 13 in February. Been in this marketplace for over 15, 16 years now. Working on engineering and IT roles, .NET. And we also have office locations in Seattle and the Bay Area as well. So if there's crossover, you want to talk about that, feel free to ping me. Thank you.
Thanks, James. That's their free opportunity to present, and we're working on making sure that they get a continuing opportunity to present at every meeting. So, anyone else have any exciting announcements this month?
Hey, Rich, I just have a suggestion.
Yes.
I talked to a couple people in the lobby, and they're in the market. We didn't have a role specifically. Could you raise your hand if you're in the market?
I was just looking at someone.
Do that, really?
You kind of, maybe.
Like
sure, kind of, maybe. Kind of, maybe.
Level.
Okay. Lori, were you? Oh, wait, sorry, no.
Really low, but
Cheryl. Okay. There's opportunities. Attack!
look at all those sharks.
I know. All right, upcoming events. Let's see. Tomorrow. Is that just tomorrow? Yeah. Oregon Sequel. Dennis, you know what's going on there?
Yes. Let's see. Tomorrow night is Scott Klein. He's going to talk about the Microsoft AI stack.
Okay. It said a SQL Server community. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole deal around AI pertaining to Azure.
Okay.
So
where is it, Rich? Where is that thing house?
Dennis, do you know where it's at?
it's in the same building downtown.
Coin?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's
Not Coin.
The other is
OHSU, okay.
It's on Meetup.
It's on Meetup. There you go. Yeah, there you go. All right. A week from today is the West Side PadNug Geek Dinner. The day after that is Squawg. Alina, do you know anything about Squawg?
I know that it's the software QA user group, Portland edition.
That's okay. That helps a little bit. January, same night. There's lean pizza. I don't know. I like a lot of pepperoni. I don't think my pizza would ever be lean. 2 weeks from now is Ask the Experts for PadNug. In all likelihood, it's beginning to look like
A lot like Christmas?
It is. Adrian will be having a Ask the Experts version of the HoloLens thing. So especially if you want to have some more hands-on time with the HoloLens, that'd be a great opportunity. If it doesn't happen January, because there was someone else who wanted to do January, we'll move that one to February. So just so you know. Portland SQL Server on January 24th. Dennis, you know that one?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
It was?
Oh,
Portland. Okay, that's fine. It says TBA right now.
Right.
And I double checked.
They don't know if the announcements will the day before anyway.
Right, I know. Okay.
We've been lining up the next few months, so they will be good.
Okay. 3 weeks at the end of the month is Padnug's East Side Geek Dinner over at Grand Central Bowling. That's always a good time. TypeScript, do you have a thought on this month's TypeScript? You just want to join us at Geek Dinner?
So we'll be having a new location, so just stay tuned to Meetup if you're interested in attending this month. I'll announce a speaker and where we're going to be soon.
All right, cool.
We like to surprise you.
I feel surprised every day. And then next month, Jeremy Foster has made a very strong commitment to be here. If anyone isn't aware, the last couple of years we missed Jeremy. So he is going to do a day in the life of a software developer circa 2050. It's his thoughts on what we might be developing in 3 decades or so. It should be fun. What's that?
That's it, daisies?
Yeah, daisies. We'll be developing. We'll be pushing them up. That's right. Well, maybe we in a context more than an individual. But anyway. And then Willamette Valley Software Engineers down in Salem. They do not have anything yet scheduled until May. Some kid named Scott Hanselman's presenting. So, Hanselman? Exactly, James. If anyone isn't aware of how to get to Thirsty Lion afterwards, we over here, they over there, pretty much Cornell Road all the way. Turn left at Macy's. You'll be there, right? Good. Because you get booze.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Your wife might get booze.
Can you see those blue arrows in virtual reality?
Yeah. If you have a HoloLens, we can upload this map so you can watch all the way. No, I'm kidding. How many people believe they'll be going to the after party? Most of you, right? All of SoftSource, maybe? Yeah, Cheryl? Okay. He's going! Alina! What have you missed? He's going with us. I don't understand. Just because you have to go to bed. All right. With not a lot further ado, Adrian, would you like to take the stage, sir? Woo! Here's your video feed, by the way.
Thanks.
You'll want that.
Let me plug this. Where's this thing?
This was months ago we tried to get this scheduled, and we finally got here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I have changed, as a matter of fact, what I was going to show.
You've changed or the presentation has?
Both.
Okay.
Both of us. Okay, thanks. Hi.
Hello. Any chance you have like nighttime mode on or night mode on?
Could be, yep. I like it. I really like it. Better?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Now looks super blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for coming. I am Adrián Benítez Martos, but you can call me Adrián, don't worry. And we are going to talk about how to learn HoloLens development in 2019. Let me introduce myself. I am from Barcelona, Spain. So to put things a little bit in context, I'm from somewhere under the clouds on the far side of the screen, while we are now under the clouds on this other side. That's where my accent it's from, in case that you were wondering. And I work for SoftSource. So as you know, there are several SoftSource folks around here today. So if by the end of this presentation, you think that it was a completely waste of your time, they encourage me, so please blame them. And we're also hiring, so if you want, I like to have a referral bonus, so mention me, please, if you talk with them about getting a job. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions before we get started. How many of you has used a HoloLens before? Okay, not bad. And how many of you has previous experience with Unity 3D? Okay, okay. How many of you would like to give it a try today and have at least 1 minute to check how a hologram looks when you are looking at it? Okay, we'll try to make it work. I'll bring it to Thirsty Lion later, so we can also spend some time there. Okay, let's get started with the development scene. So 3 years later, right? The HoloLens device, it's already almost 3 years old. It was released on May the 30th, if I can remember well, 3 years ago. And let's look at what has happened during this time. I'm going to focus on stuff that you can do without a HoloLens. The HoloLens, many of you have seen it already, right? But looks like this. And it's pretty cool when you're using it, but it's a $3,000 device. And you probably want to check what it's that you can do by yourself before spending such amount of money, especially if you are thinking about doing some development with it. The good news is that Microsoft has published a lot of really interesting materials during the last 3 years. When it was first released, documentation was almost nothing. But nowadays, there are really good documents and examples out there. So we are going to focus mainly around learning resources, tool, and open source project. And we are going to check all them in a fashion in which we are going to check what it's exactly that you can do without the device and how far you can get your things to work. So there we go. Let's get started with the Microsoft Dev Center. This is your start point. Doesn't really matter what's your previous experience with Unity nor with augmented reality itself. There are really good articles here that are going to help you with developing your applications. Sorry, let me go back to it. So, as example, there's a really good section about the fundamentals of mixed reality. So if you want to learn a little bit about what are the differences between mixed reality for augmented reality devices and for VR, and which are the main components of each one of these technologies, there are really good introductory articles there about it. There are also very, very good articles about design. Think about it. Augmented reality, it's going to be completely different in terms of how you want your users to interact with your applications. User interface and user experience, it's going to be something completely different, far away from what you expect your users to do when they have a keyboard and a mouse. And the articles here are very focused into the HoloLens and augmented reality wall. And of course, there are very good examples of how to get into the basics of development. When the device was first released, they released it with what they call the Holo Toolkit Academy, I think that it was called back then. And it was mainly a series of examples on how to get your very basic camera and mapping surroundings working, right? Being an augmented reality device, you need to get it to scan the surroundings so you can place digital objects on top of that real world, right? So they help you getting through that. But they've kept publishing stuff, and now you can get very good examples for things as advanced as face recognition using an Azure endpoint. Configuring your Azure machine and your Azure endpoint, capturing information from HoloLens, sending it to the device, and back to the device in order to do face recognition. There's also some language translation examples. So there's really interesting stuff. While you get into doing this kind of exercises, there's a point in which you will start using the Mixed Reality Toolkit. And this is really interesting and it's really good. This is an open source project. It's a tool. It's a collection of scripts and prefabs that allows you to accelerate the development of your applications. It comes with a lot of useful stuff, and it's on GitHub, so it's as easy as getting it from GitHub. Let me show you a really basic scene I have put together with some elements involved. If this is your first time seeing the Unity 3D user interface, don't worry too much about it. It's not important. You're going to forget what you're seeing in a few minutes, right? So the important thing here to know is that I put together this scene without writing not even a single line of code. I have downloaded the Holo Toolkit from GitHub. I have included it in the project. I have created a new scene. I have configured the project and the scene to target the HoloLens device just by clicking a few menu items, and I have drag and drop a series of prefabs into this scene that I consider are the very basic blocks on top of which you are going to be building your applications. So what I have included in this one are specifically a camera that, in the case of HoloLens, it's going to be the head of the user. So the camera has to follow whatever it's the user is looking at. Special mapping object that I have tweaked, and I have tweaked it only drag and dropping another element, that it's a texture, because we're going to execute this inside the Unity editor. Unity currently allows you to there we go, to emulate a different set of rooms, so you can see what you are executing from the point of view of being inside a room. So if you have an object and you want to be able to place that object on top of a surface, Unity is going to allow you to do it inside that space. But from a point of view of the Unity editor, when you are executing that, you are not seeing anything. It's just an empty space, right? So by adding a small texture, you are able, there we go. You are able to see what it's that the device will be mapping if it was really inside that room. And I also have wired it to an Xbox One controller because it's super useful. It allows you to walk around the room and interact with your objects in case that you want it. In this case, I am rendering here also a cube, just for sake of have an hologram in this space. This doesn't look like a big deal, but 3 years ago, you were completely unable of doing something like this within the editor. You had to put your scene together and then create a Visual Studio project and export this as a Visual Studio project, execute it on the emulator, and it was kind of like tedious. But nowadays, the fact that you can do it from the editor itself, it's pretty sweet. Believe me, if you have been through having to take all that steps each time that you were changing something in the application, this is amazing. And you can on the fly just change a room, and after a few seconds, the mapper is kind of like going to get the new information of whatever it's that it's loaded inside that room. It's worth mentioning also that the Holo Toolkit comes not just with elements that you can include in your scenes, but with small examples of things that you may want to use later on your final application. A color picker, or something that allows you to find planes, right? I think it's funny to think of plane finding because it became a thing when ARKit was first released by Apple. Do you remember? A lot of people was kind of like uploading videos to YouTube of, oh, I can find plane surfaces with my iPhone and everything. And it became a thing for some reason. You, of course, can do that with the HoloLens too. The good thing is that you can get a scene that it's going to be kind of like a small code snippet of what you will have to do in order to achieve getting that functionality on your application. So once you've been through all that academy small examples and you've been playing a little bit with the Holo Toolkit, you are probably ready to go and try to make more nicer final products, right? Something cooler. So in order to have something that you can look at to find inspiration and see how to put together your application, Microsoft has released a series of open source projects. The first one, if I'm not wrong, they released was the Galaxy Explorer one. It's interesting because what they did is they created kind of like a contest of ideas. So people was submitting ideas that they'd like to see implemented for HoloLens. And then they did a Twitter poll, I think it was, and this was the winning idea. So the whole process, it's documented. There's a study case, there's a how they've done everything in order to get this done. And the code's on GitHub. So it's very interesting because then you get to, this is not the project, sorry. There we go. You get to being able to play, sorry, with a fairly serious application. Let me do this again, but without sound. So this application contains structures that you will be probably really interested into implementing in your application. It's mainly a MVVM application, so it has a series of views and models that it loads, saves the state or whatever it's that you have loaded in that moment, and allows you to click on objects and obtain detail of those objects. So as example, if I'm here and I click on the galactic center, As you can see, a few errors are displaying on the, on the menu. You get a new view. So the application, the core of the application, it's getting the state of the new view, and it's loading it, and it's killing the previous one. It's worth going through it, and it's full of interesting information. And because it's so well documented, it's worth go checking. One thing that I like to mention though, it's that Unity keeps releasing new versions several times per year. At least 4 major releases are done every year with a new system. And the last year were especially big ones and included a lot of new stuff. So if you try to get the code of this application or any of the other applications that I'm going to show you, and you try to execute it on the last version of Unity, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at first. You're going to get a series of errors. I did it by myself. This one's running on the version that it should be running, but I also made it run on the newest version. And I just got a handful of errors that any of you can perfectly go through it, are pretty simple, are pretty well explained, like this is deprecated, please use this other thing. You just go, write the new thing, it compiles, and you can execute it. But here and there you will find that there are things that maybe don't work as you 100% like. As example, I don't like how the controller works with this application. This application is amazing once it's deployed on the device, but this is about getting this developed without the device, right? So with this application, this axis works, which is nice because this will be how you are moving inside the room, right? But you want to be able to interact with this axis too, because the user not only can walk like on Wolfenstein from back and to the right, it's going to also move the head, right? But you cannot do it here with the controller. You have to use the mouse. So that will be something nice to implement, right? And it won't be a great thing. There's the input manager object. Inside the input manager object, there's a controller script. The controller script works with a series of buttons, and with one of the axes, you can just go and say, hey, well, the transform of the camera, it's going to rotate on this way when this other axis is activated. It's something that could be done. But you're going to find these kind of small problems. It's what happens, I guess, with open source, right? You release something in the wild, and if nobody updates it, this kind of stuff happens. So Galaxy Explorer, it's really one of my favorites, and I really recommend you to go checking it. It's a great example of data visualization. AR and data visualization are really good friends, and there's really good business there. There's also really good business, and they're really good friends with video games, right? But data visualization, it's nice. So this application really doesn't care about your surroundings. This is about sitting on your sofa and having something in front of you that it's rendered and it's super cool, and you are gesturing around it and seeing how things changes. But that's it, right? I want to show you another application that also it's a really good example in terms of data visualization. That is, sorry, the periodic table of elements. As you can see, all the materials that I am showing you here today are released by Microsoft. Sooner or later, they use newer or older versions of Unity, but they are all released by Microsoft, and that means that they are more or less consistent in terms of the materials that you are going to find. So this one also comes with a case study, and they also explain you how they decided the design for this application, and has a series of small notes around the controls and how it was developed, and gives you ideas about how with this object collection that they have included in this project, you can go later and create new applications. As example, to see, you know, stock market information or sports information, and it's true, you're good. It's fairly interesting and can be done. This one though, talking about what it's going to work and it's not going to work, when I had it running on the Unity editor, sorry, this is not the one. There we go. It is supposed to work in a way in which you can okay, there we go, interact with each one of the elements here. And when you have one selector, it's like you're going to see an atom with all the electrons around and all the stuff. But I had problems with it, making it work. I had it almost there. I had to move forward with something different. But still, it's a really good example of data visualization. Again, it's an example of how the project's there, it's cool, but probably it's going to require a little bit of extra work in order for you to make it work. Again, on the device works wonderfully, but I had problems specifically with the newest version of Unity, that it's the one that I was running when I downloaded. And then when I downloaded the version in which it's supposed to run, I had the same problem, but for a slightly small difference. And it's that I wanted a version that I was able to run within the Unity hub and not have to allow it to. And it's going, well, I guess it's going to be a little bit different, the version. It's not going to make difference. Well, I guess it does. And it's a good example of data visualization too. Again, this is an application that doesn't care about where you are. You just play this. It's not like you are going to care too much about dropping each one of the elements on top of your table or something like that. One project that does that is Lunar Module. That will be the next step. Lunar Module, it's some sort of reimplementation of an Atari classic that it was called Lunar Lander. Okay, so as you can see with this picture, what you will do is through a series of videos of scenes, you will ask the user, okay, let's set up the game. Where do you want to land? Try to land the lunar module. So you set a path on the floor. In order to do that, you have special mapping going on. You set up your digital object with a special anchor. And then you start the game, in which using an Xbox controller, you are trying to make that your lunar lander lands on the path properly. It's an arcade game, so it's the kind of game in which you are always trying to beat your own score, so you don't need to implement a lot of levels. You just need to make maybe the controls a little bit harder each time that the user is able to land the module where it should be. And this project is especially difficult to make work on the Unity editor. And as a matter of fact, I sent an email the other day to the main collaborator of the project because I was confused. The Unity file refers a specific 5.something version of Unity, like that was the version with which they were working. But then the documentation talks about something different, about 2017 something. None of them work for me. I had different problems with each one of them. The code is still on GitHub, and it's a good. It's really valid in terms of how the backbone of your application should look when you are trying to implement this kind of example. And besides it's the best example that I can show you. Besides the other two ones that are purely of data visualization, This one has a little bit more of interacting with the real world. And because it's the first one of the year and I don't want you to get too worried about it, that's it. That's what I wanted to show you today. Hopefully I will get you interested into learning some augmented reality into 2019, because New Year's, how do you call that? Resolutions. So thanks for coming. That's what I got.
Adrian, you gonna put the headset on and let us see what you're seeing?
We could do that, something like that. I am not 100% ready to do that because they should be connected to the same wireless network in order to do it, and I haven't prepared it. But
Darren, fix it.
We've all done demos.
Go for it.
So
Go for it. Take a chance.
It will take me several minutes. I will. If you want to try it, if you want to check how it works, I would rather, if we have time, just be around with the device and please.
Yeah, I'm wondering about, you're saying that the latest versions of your software, that pieces don't work with that. Do you
Yes.
think there's a lack of user community that wants to make it work, or is there a kind of a secret sauce that they don't want to give away that?
I will say that it's lack of community supporting it. I would say, yeah. Because it's there. I mean, when I got these projects into my machine, the things that weren't working were pretty clear and were really easy to solve. I didn't spend too much time into them, but it's also so much easy to just go and get the proper version of Unity that you need to get it working, that I guess that people who wants to check it just goes there.
Do you think people are afraid to join the group and become a community with the visual?
I will say that the community is not that big neither, not yet. Augmented reality, it's relatively new. Get a HoloLens, it's expensive, right? So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just bought an Oculus Go just for Christmas.
Yeah, but there's quite a difference in price, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing.
So how much of the samples and things that you done for some of these samples, but with the mixed reality framework, the HP device, the Acer device, the Oculus, they should all work with a lot of these same examples.
Well, those ones are virtual reality devices.
Right, but don't they all work in that mixed reality?
Yes,
framework?
mixed reality. It's a big umbrella that covers both augmented reality and virtual reality. So there are things that they are going to have in common and they are going to work, and there are things that not. Probably you will have to tweak the controls, right, in order to have them properly working with whatever inputs it's that those devices have. So, yeah, but yes, they have that common umbrella, and yeah, the major part of things you will be able to render them on your virtual reality, mixed reality device, despite the fact that you will have to tweak some things. That Oculus Go, it's amazing, but yeah, it's like HoloLens. It's quite expensive. My first car was a lot cheaper than a HoloLens. Please.
What can you envision as applications that you would use a HoloLens for, maybe 10 years in the future? I mean, where would we go?
Physical therapy.
Physical therapy?
Yeah, as example, imagine that you have to do a series of exercises at home because you got an injury or something like that, but you cannot afford to have a nurse there every day, right? Showing you how to exercise, whatever it is that you have to do. That will be something fairly interesting to do. Learning. I mean, there's so much things that will appeal to being implemented on the device in order to learn how to do something. Schools are early adopters of HoloLens. There was someone at Portland 2 or 3 years ago that they were building a holographic 4x engine with all the exhaust and everything. So kiddos could go and kind of like on the click of kind of like seeing open and see how the engine worked and everything. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of room outside obvious gaming. You know, there's a lot of video games that will be super cool and are being playable on augmented reality. But I think that does that answer your question?
Do you see it as like a heads-up display for life?
Maybe, yeah.
As you're doing something, you can get information. Just like when you're driving, you can see like
yes,
the screen. But
I can see that. Military are really good at that, right? The jets already have that kind of information. HoloLens, it's really bad on updating on changes around your surroundings. So if you are on a room and the room's a scan and you move a chair and you have an object that it's supposed not to pass through the chair, HoloLens is going to take a little bit of time to understand that the chair's been moved, and that breaks a little bit the experience. You can have it scanning constantly, but then the already not so lasting battery is going to suffer even more. So let's see what Microsoft releases in 2019. It's supposed to release the next HoloLens device somewhere this year. Please.
Given the current price point for this, it's really still in the realm of experimenters and
I agree.
Is there formal plans for a quote commercial version?
I hope so, because they've been the first ones. Now there's the Magic Leap also. It was released some point Q3 or Q4 2018. That Magic Leap's generating a lot of news about how cool it was going to be. And they've released a device that it's more or less the same. Couple of improvements for $500 less in 3 years. I hope that Microsoft is going to surprise us during 2019, but I don't think that it's going to be super cheap. It's going to be expensive. I mean, at the end of the day, compare it with a VR device. If you want a good HTC Vive experience, you have to spend a lot on a computer. This thing doesn't need a computer. It's a standalone holographic computer. That's what you need. You may have a laptop or not, but you don't need anything else besides the HoloLens. Also, of course, HTC Vive or Oculus Rift has an amazing catalog that the HoloLens doesn't have yet, right? Please.
So HoloLens is Microsoft operating system?
It runs a Windows 10 operating system. So I think it's an x86 processor, mainly that it runs, and it's a flavor of Windows 10 that it's running as OS. There's really good information about hardware and software on the Dev Center. If you are interested about that kind of details, I really recommend you to go and check it because there's really good, interesting. There's a little bit of security around the holographic processor because they are proprietary of that technology belongs to Microsoft, and there's not too much information about that specific part of the hardware, but about main processor, GPU, battery. The sound system is amazing. The sound system is a 3D sound system thing. So when you configure an object to be something that it's emitting sound and that object's behind you, the sound rate kind of like really feels like comes from that sound. So it's pretty cool because it's part of the evolving experience. More questions, please?
Is there a way to kind of like augment or improve it with additional hardware resources, like an external computer?
Well, there's the chance of using Azure to compute. So you can capture images with the locatable camera and send them to Azure and try to read using the, how was called that Microsoft service, that cognitive services, like the person in front of you seems very bored. It's called, okay. And you can print that kind of like, get that information. But as far as I know, that's, and of course, it comes with a clicker. This is the controller, that's the hardware that comes. So you can get some information from the clicker that comes with the HoloLens too. And it's nice to use it. It's not kind of like a super interesting device, but sometimes when you are testing a lot of things and you are around the room clicking, finally it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to be holding my hand around the room like this. So you can just use the clicker, point something, and click it with your face. But as far as I know, that's it. That's like, you cannot get more memory for the device or a better battery or improve its computational power. Please.
So is it Wi-Fi only, or does it have cellular access?
I am not sure. That's a good question. I always use Wi-Fi. But I think that's it. I think that's it.
So you're kind of stuck in a wireless.
Yeah, and so when I've done I've done other presentations for other groups in which instead of kind of like showing them how to learn about it, what I've done is kind of like, let's do a very basic application from scratch together. Let's pass the device around so we can see what it's that we have implemented. And that's cool for small groups, but in order to have the other people seeing what it's that the person who's wearing the device is seeing, they both have the computer and because there's an application that's kind of like a mirroring app, have to be on the same Wi-Fi thing, and there's a lot of lag between the device and the computer. The best thing that you can do in order to improve that is having your computer as hotspot. So instead of going from your HoloLens to the Wi-Fi router to the computer, it goes directly to the computer. So Wi-Fi is just good enough, but I won't say that communications with other devices are the strongest part of the device. If you are interested in knowing more about what's the real power of the hardware in that, I really recommend you to go check the documentation, because maybe I'm a little slightly inaccurate on what I am saying or completely wrong. More questions? Sorry, please.
Are there companies out there that are building real applications with this right now?
Real, you mean, your question is if there are companies that they are kind of like making...
Yeah, is this still just a hobby?
There's someone from Object Theory today here. Object Theory, it's apparently not, it's a company, as example, from here, from Portland, that they have published an application that I cannot remember the name of, that helps you sharing holographic objects between devices that they are not at the same room. So you have a Citrix meeting thing on asteroids in which you are seeing other holograms of people around a table that are interacting with an object or something like that. They are partners with Microsoft. So Microsoft has a partnership program in which they are helping that kind of companies to grow and do something. And as far as I know, they are making their living on it. That's the only example I have to offer you.
Anybody go to Build this year and see the little HoloLens thing? Was it piloting ships?
Placing items in warehouses.
Oh, there was that one where they had a little booth set up where they were piloting ships. They had a table, kind of fake bay, and then you looked at it and you could see ships that were coming in, maybe, you know.
I've seen partnerships of Microsoft with specific big companies, like going to Nike or to something really big and say, hey, do you want to play with this? Let's do something together so we can put it on our portfolio. Yeah. I've seen that, but companies that they offer it as a service, that's the one that I can think of. And they're based here at Portland. So I recommend you to, they're called Object Theory, check on them. And I cannot remember the name of the two persons that I know at the company, but it will be easy to find. Please.
So it's unlikely Microsoft will ever get out of the business of HoloLens, but how increasing is the interest for developers?
I think that this is an amazing toy, and there are really cool things that can be done. When Rick was commenting on the presentation that we are going to get some point at March, and so how we are going to do things in 2050, right? There's going to be augmented reality for sure, from my point of view. If Microsoft is going to be there, they have an amazing product. But it's not the first time that we've seen Microsoft having an amazing product and losing the market, right? So I am not sure. I wish they really go big on it. And I think that Natia Sadala has a lot of focus on HoloLens. They presented it like a big thing. Alex Kidman, if I pronounce it right, he's involved in the product. Was also the main lead on Kinect. So the main guy of Kinect is the main guy on HoloLens, and I think that they are trying to get their homework done. Let's see where it goes, but I don't know yet. So, yeah. Please.
So the
Sorry.
Oculus Globe, what's the other device you mentioned?
The Oculus Go is a VR device that you don't need a computer, right? It's a standalone VR device. Costs a couple of $100. This one costs $300. Yeah.
Is it comparable from the feature set, or I mean, are
well,
they two different things? Or?
One's VR, the other one's AR. So they are both of them are kind of like helmets or visors.
Sure, yeah.
They compete in the same league, but they are on different brackets. Let's say it's kind of like so.
And the Magic Leap, is that the same?
Magic Leap competes directly with HoloLens. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, please.
So is there a way that you can create HoloLens applications that work on multiple different devices, or is it just HoloLens?
So this is the thing. Microsoft has created this thing that they call mixed reality platform. Mixed reality platform, it's the name of a framework. To simplify it. So you can target applications that with very small modifications are going to look well both on your augmented reality and on your virtual reality devices. That doesn't mean code one, deploy on whatever you want, because it's like, I kind of like always compare it to the early days of smartphone development. Yeah, it's going to work on the iPhone 4 that you are testing. That doesn't mean that it's going to work in the same way on the 4S, nor on an Android device. Yeah, they both have a screen that it's a touch screen, and they both have speakers, and they have both gyroscope, but from one device to another, there are going to be peculiarities that you are going to polish, right? But there's a certain amount of the application that, yeah, it's going to move from one device to another. More questions? Please?
Can you wear glasses when you use it?
Sorry?
Can you wear glasses when you use it?
You can, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty comfortable from my point of view. You can kind of like adjust the separation between the screen to your face. So if you are wearing glasses, you can absolutely put it there, give some room, and then make it feel comfortable. Yeah. There's a lot of people who use glasses at the company I work for at Subsort, and when they ask me, hey, can I play with this? They're removing their glasses, and no, leave them on, because actually you're going to be having your eyes making a huge effort to see something that it's just rendered here, right, in front of your face, but with a illusion of depth on what you're doing. So yeah, leave your glasses on. Otherwise you'll get a headache.
So how long can you wear it before you get a headache?
Well, playing with it, like not developing with it, you can have it for a long time. Chad, your son was playing HoloRate one day for a long time, right?
Yeah, about 4.5 hours.
But the weight's pretty heavy, though. I mean, I've been in classes where in coding classes where I've worn that thing for a long period of time. It wears in the back.
Because a lot of people doesn't use this thing. So you can put this thing here, and it's true, it's after a while kind of like gets heavy, but with this small thing here, kind of like your head helps a little bit with the weight of the device. But yeah, after a while, of course, you're going to have small marks here on the device, and if you're developing with it, it's not especially comfortable, because either you are deploying through Wi-Fi or with your wire, they're trying to look at the screen while you are trying to deploy something, so you have this thing on, and you are trying to look at your screen under it. It's kind of, it's not the most pleasant experience. You have some room to just kind of like have it like this, but at the end of the day, I found myself just having it like as open as it can be, and removing it, and when I have to test, I test for a few minutes, and then I completely remove it. I think we're good. Thank you.